our way. Everyone we knew was saying no way, but we were never listening anyway. So don't be just standing in the doorway. Don't you know we gotta hit the highway? Darling, this is gonna be a good day. And I've gotta say that I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day I'll be looking back on this and I'll say, I'm so happy that you said you would stay. There were times I know that I was crazy, fraying at the edges and you saved me. I'm losing count of chances that you gave me. You're laughing at me dancing really badly, and telling me the reasons why you'd gladly do it all again. Cause I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Well, hey, words can never adequately convey everything you're giving to me today. But holding you is better than a holiday, and leaving you I dread it like exam day. So at the risk of sounding kinda risque, everything to now has been the foreplay. Darling, I would follow you to Norway, or anywhere you want it. Cause I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day, when we're getting wrinkly and our hair's grey, a rusty old banger in the driveway, one of us will maybe wear a toupee, but I will be in love with you.
Welcome, 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 amazing impact makers, to the most epic call of the week, the Public Speaking Academy Momentum. Who's excited for this? Who's a little intrigued that some of you are going to go live in 2 weeks from now? I know from everybody who's on that journey, and for everybody who is still 6 weeks from it, I just want you to know that whatever you're feeling, it's whatever it is, and that is totally okay. And it's part of transformational journey where every single time you're going to improve. So before we're going to dive into the content of today, which will be a real fun one, I would love to hear some wins. The reason, by the way, why we do that every single week on Monday and on Tuesday, again, all of you have access to the Monday bonus calls. I want you to be ready to speak wherever, whenever, to whomever. So every single week, I'm going to ask you to share a win, and you all have one. It's instead of thinking, do I have a win? Which is one question which has an answer, which either be yes or no. I want you to be more and more comfortable with the question, what is my win? And every single time you're able to pivot that question and immediately raise your hand and trust yourself that whatever comes out is whatever comes out. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you get, the more you're able to say yes to speaking opportunities when they're right in front of you. Does it make sense? And not only that, like, who here got a breakthrough for someone else's win? the law of exposure, you guys, the law of exposure states that once we get exposed to something, we can never be unexposed again. Yesterday, I wrote a win from someone who got free Disneyland tickets for 3 people because she was speaking there, right? You can never be unexposed again to that. I told the story of going on a cruise and being a speaker on a cruise. You can never be unexposed to that. I want your imaginations to start swirling and not just think, oh, in 8 weeks from now or in 8 weeks' time, I'm gonna share on a stage. And this is gonna be my one big moment. And if I don't do it right in the ways that I think success is, then I'm gonna fuck up. And I'm gonna disappoint Lori. I'm just gonna disappoint the group. I'm gonna disappoint myself. I'm only sharing this because I know that these are thoughts that are in people's brain. So just know that you're right on track and that your win is here for a reason. So who would love to share first? Adrian.
Yeah, so my win is, so when I first joined this academy, hours after joining the academy, I was invited to speak at a conference. And so I have been going back and forth with the conference organizers, and I was able to propose a topic to speak on. And so I just found out that I will be able to speak on that topic. It will be in more of a workshop format, which is different than I thought. And so it took me a little bit, at first I thought like, oh crap, I wanted to be like the keynote speaker, but then like actually the talk is going to be about community. So it'll be beautiful to be able to have that in a group environment, and to be able to facilitate that conversation. So super excited. So now I have to send over my bio, my headshot, like all of that. So it feels very real. And now I can really kind of ground myself. Yeah. I always thought it was gonna like go away. So like I'm very happy that this is happening, and that now I can start to kind of visualize, okay, it's gonna be a workshop, it's gonna be in the big room, it's gonna be, so how can I kind of host and facilitate that roundtable around a topic that I'm very passionate about.
That is so amazing. So amazing. What a big win. Absolutely epic. And just for you and everybody, when you get one opportunity, right? In this case, it's a workshop, which sometimes feels a little, like you share a little bit your thoughts about the comparison with being the keynote speaker. Like being a workshop leader in a room like this is going to be so magical.
Mm.
So magical because you will have smaller pots probably per round when it's multiple rounds. Sometimes it's like this, and you're able to really create individual connections. I know Rob, he shared with me, Lori, like when I'm in front of people and I feel that connection, they're so convinced to work with me. But like in Sales Skills 101 or cold outreach, that's way harder. Now, imagine yourself doing a workshop like this. Even if it's 5 people, if you connect with 5 people on a real deep level, like that's so valuable. And think about this. Those organizers are probably going to do the event in a year from now again.
Mm.
So what if they see the value that you're adding, and instead of thinking, oh, I did a workshop, you're thinking, okay, well, I did a workshop. What can I contribute next year? What way can I contribute leading on to the event? Because I know that up front, there's a lot of work for you to do. What can I do that's easy and fun for me so I can help you out and build that momentum from there? Beautiful. Who else? Mari.
So yesterday, after you said about this, I got the balls to ask somebody, and the person answered, and they said, "Yeah, when I come back, I want to interview you." So
Wow, Mari! Isn't that
thank you,
fun?
guys.
You got invited to ask?
I got invited to be interviewed in a podcast. So you encouraged me, Lori. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And by the way, guys, you got to listen to her podcast. I was listening to it, and it was really interesting. She has a lot of good content, honestly.
Cool. Yeah, I've been hiding it for 2 years. Now I'm sharing it again. That's good. So, Mari, what I'm hearing you say is you wanted a podcast. You got invited from me to do it on like yesterday. I said like, why don't you just reach out? You reached out and they said what? Yes. It's like, could it be that easy? Yes, it could. It really could. There's other people who want great speakers. And when you come from a heart-centered approach and when you really have something to add, like people love to do that. So that's amazing. That's amazing. Within 1 day, right? Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? Blake, what about you? What's a win that we can celebrate with you?
So I was on vacation this past week visiting my son, who I hadn't seen in 6 months because he's in the military. So
Wow.
that's a win in itself. Um, my last week I talked about having 3 podcasts lined up. So I've met with one of them already. So we've scheduled the date. At first, she was hesitant to talk to us or talk to me because I don't quite align necessarily directly with her audience. But after seeing how I could change kind of what my message was in a different angle, she said, no, I absolutely want to do this for my audience. So we got something booked for August.
Ah, yes. Okay, one thing I want to dive deeper into this, Blake, because I saw some people looking like this when you share that. Could you share what the topic was that the podcast host is talking about and how you made that connection? Because yesterday we talked about that exact topic that sometimes
Okay.
we think too hard, too complicated when it comes to these. And we need to help the host understand that there is a connection. How did you do that?
So this is a very interesting one in itself, is that the podcast is run by a mother and a daughter. The daughter is 14. She is autistic, and she has started her own dance academy. And most of the time she's bringing on guests that are more autism advocates. And I don't quite consider myself as an advocate per se. I consider myself more an empowerer. I empower the autism community and try to help them, unleash kind of their genius. And typically I coach young adults to help them become more independent, or I coach the parents. And so I kind of spun it that many of their listeners are going to be people that are looking for ways to empower their young adults to do exactly what her daughter has done in starting her own dance and ballet studio for autistic individuals. And once she kind of got that connection that this could be it's not just a coach, it's somebody that can empower her audience and make her look really good, then she was very, very excited about it.
Yeah, that's so good. So instead of thinking, oh, the person doesn't see the connection, therefore I should not be on that podcast. Like maybe this is going to be your number one out of the 10 that you're doing, right? So sometimes we need to help the other person understand how that connection is being created. And Blake, what a beautiful win that you saw your son. And I who heard that thing and thought, huh, and then had a thought on it. Right? Let's put in the chat what your association was. I want all of us to understand what the story library really does, and that when tiny nuances of your personality can completely unlock the way, like a part of who you are. My parents are coming to visit in a couple of weeks and I can't wait. Okay, so it had something to do with visiting parents. What for everybody else? What came up to me personally is a lot of my family members are in the military, in the Navy, in the submarine even. So I completely understand that part of that mentality, what it does. So it creates an emotion for me for sure. Caring about his kids. Oh, which is very, very important for you, Rebecca. So, like all these little details about your personality, right? Remember the 3 C's? The community, credibility, and the last one, coolness, right? Blake, this could be certainly one of the topics that you can even share in your keynote because it says a lot about who you are. Combine all of these puzzle pieces of your personality, adding different nuances of who you are will share more about like people that know, like, and trust you. And Jay, I got your question. Jay asked me a question. Lori, can I also share a story of someone else? Right? A story that you witnessed, a story that touched you so much that now you want to share it with other people. And what I said to you, Jay, and what I want to share with all of you, because when one person has a question, more people have a question. You can. You absolutely can. at the same time, and this is what we're going to do today, we're going to look at your aim and your teaching points and your stories. When you, Jay, know your aim, you can reverse engineer. Is this story going to help me facilitate that transformation? And am I showing the 3 C's throughout that whole journey? Because if we want to work with you further along, Jay, or want to trust you that your invitation is worthwhile, we need to know that you are trustworthy. Remember that people buy from 2 sorts of people? Who remembers who they are? People are just like who?
Them.
Themselves. Or they aspire to be more
Like them.
love. Yeah. So Jay, if you have this incredible story that you would love to share, like, I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. I want all of you to be equipped with the way of thinking so you can make decisions for yourself. So when looking at that story, Jay, you can look through that lens. Is this facilitating the transformation? And are people going to have a good perspective of who I am as a person? Do they see how credible I am on this topic? Do they see my charisma, my personality, my coolness? And do they see the values that I have with the people I'm hanging around? Does it make sense? Beautiful. What we're going to do today is we are going to look at an amazing talk that was done by one of your peers 2 weeks ago in the live gig. And what we're going to do is every single one of you is going to think of your talk, specifically one part of that. When you have your blueprint document, and you know that you have to figure out what your aim is. You know that you have to figure out what your teaching points are, what the story blocks that you're going to use. I want you to pick one part of that whole formula. And while we're going to watch this video together, I would love for you to look through the lens of that one part of the formula. So you're seeing a specific example and you're immediately able to apply this to yourself. This is not we're all going to watch a fun inspirational talk. This is us using an example to get your mind up and running so that you're able to implement this for yourself. Does it make sense? Can I get 2 thumbs up if that makes sense? Beautiful. Then please put in the chat what part of the formula are you going to focus on right now? What part, what little nuance is for you the next step? Maybe that could be the topic that I'm going to share, the aim that I have. Maybe that is emotional engagement, the engagement loops. Irmak, the teaching points, different stories, the stories, beautiful. What stories are they using? What different C's do you notice with different elements? Katharina, the teaching points, beautiful. I want to see it from everybody in the chat. The teaching points, the stories, and the stories. All right, so when we are watching this specific video, I want you to look through that specific lens. Before we're going to watch that, are there any specific questions that you want to have clarified before we start to help yourself and probably someone else who has the same question? Anyone? No questions?
How do I narrow it down to one?
There you go.
I can't, I'm having a hard time picking one.
One lens?
Yeah.
Beautiful. That is a beautiful opportunity. Because what happens when we're not focused on one, when we're basically watching that whole video like it's one whole video and see it as inspiration, We sometimes go out with, oh my God, this was really cool. I want to do something like this as well. But then the how stays a question because we're not able to see how someone did that. So what we're doing in this exercise, because we're chunking it down to specific elements, you're focusing on a tiny nuance of the talk, so you're able to see what they do in order to get their result, so you can do that as well. So for example, Jay, you picked the nothing yet. So when you, yeah, that's a good question. So when we look at your talk, do you feel that right now you have a clear idea of what the transformation is that you want to facilitate for someone else? Do you feel that's clear for you right now? Jay?
Oh, you're asking. Yeah, I get clear and then, then I have other ideas, but I think maybe I'll focus on the aim.
Beautiful. Who, by the way, has that too? Who thinks they have something and then they wake up and then they're like, no, it should be completely opposite? Well, if that's you, just know that we're all in the same boat, because I have that too. The reason why you're going on stage 8 weeks after you start is to give you a deadline to make decisions for that moment. So what I would love for all of you is to pick an aim, to know that part of you will probably want to change it, but not change it for this course, for this route, for this journey, because now you have really a specific end result. Now, Linda, for example, she's in this journey for the 3rd time. Linda, is it correct that you had 3 different kind of aims, 3 different kind of goals? Yes. So you don't have to marry one. What you're gonna help yourself is when you pick one, even though you feel like, oh, this might not be it, whatever that means. Just know that that's okay. So if I force all of you to come up with an aim in the next 2 minutes, would you be able to do that? Better said, please put it in the chat and write down exactly what your aim is. And when you put it in the chat, other people will see yours and will able to get inspiration from that. And I know that some of you are like so happy that Jay asked this. I help them understand how to manage performance to improve culture. I help young adults with autism and their parents to navigate their path to independence without complexity, judgment, or guilt, so they can feel relief, hope, inspiration, and readiness. I help people improve their life or business. I help caregivers to reignite their spark and burn brightly without getting stuck or burned out, so they can stay fulfilled in difficult times. I empower vibrant women to embrace their own forever young. Right? So now we have this dot on the horizon that we're going to create our talk about. Now I'm going to get Carolyn as an example just before we start watching this video. Because Carolyn, you're helping people to empower women to embrace their forever young mentality. Other way of saying is you help people to stay young forever. Now, Carolyn, in your curriculum, there's multiple steps, right? There's the mindset of getting younger and older. There is, let's just say, I'm making some up because I don't know them exactly, but there's the exercise of things. There's the food component. And then there is, let's say,
resiliency.
Perfect. So she has different teaching points that she can talk about. Now, her last keynote, with the aim of helping people to stay young forever, was about the mindset of things. In that keynote, she shared a story about her being a dentist and about her skiing in Aspen. Now for this round, Carolyn still is going to help people stay young forever. It's still her dot on the horizon. But now the content will change a little bit. She's now, for example, going to talk about the resiliency of staying young forever. And instead of talking about her being a dentist and skiing in Aspen, which were stories to check off her 3 C's, she's now using different stories. So the point that I want to make for all of you right now is whatever aim you have, you don't need to marry it. So when Carolyn chose mindset of forever young, she stuck to it because she now created one keynote that she actually finished. And she actually did, instead of redoing it 1 week before and thinking, I should change everything, right? Now she picks the next one. And that outcome of that is that not only does she have 2 good stories, but more importantly, she starts to understand that she can change the content whenever she wants to, and change the stories whenever she wants to, and still have that transformational journey for her audience, which makes her more flexible when the audience changes, makes her more flexible when part of her content changes, and makes her more flexible when the time that she has changes. Does it make any sense? Jay, does that answer your question as well? Yeah? Beautiful. So what we're going to do, I would all of you to focus on that one topic that you chose to really upgrade what you have already. And then together we're going to see what is this person doing and how can you do that too. So let's watch it together. And I will share my screen and also share with you that you have access to this talk. And you also have access to other talks if you want more inspiration on how other people are doing it for themselves. So look, I am right now in the blueprint that you all have access to, right? This is the blueprint that you're all watching all the videos from. And then when we go to Scale Up, number 3, you will see all full talks of people who went through the academy. They're not even all, we'll upload more, but this is way more than enough that you need right now. And we're gonna watch Mari's. So we're gonna watch Mari's talk from Lost Academy. She's going in another round, the third round for Mari. And we're gonna watch this together and we're gonna see what is she doing specifically that we can learn from. All right? So I'm gonna put play. We're gonna watch a piece. I'm gonna pause it and we're gonna reflect together. And the next speaker that I'm able to invite, she is a powerhouse. She's an American who grew up in Peru. And she did not just live in the Amazon rainforest, but she also grew up in a time of terrorism. And that alone forged her into being a fearless reporter. And back in the United States, she went on an adventurous journey that continued to create new and exploration in her work. And until then, she's taken on projects with the Department of Justice. She's been protecting children from online predators, and she's been working alongside the FBI in undercover operations. Like, mind-blowing, right? And her company is known for high-impact corporate projects in education, in health, in finances, and right now she's expanding to streaming platforms. And from sailing adventures in the Mediterranean to exploring the creative process of composers. She's always in the forefront of innovation, now using artificial intelligence to transform her business operations. And her latest documentary, Blessed and Rest, is currently making waves in the festival circuit, earning 5 Best Documentary Awards and numerous other nominations and selections. Now, before I'm gonna bring her up, I just want to kind of brag about her a little bit, even though I've already done that. But her and her team have won 8 Emmy Awards. They had a Sundance Award. They have honors of International Film Festival Circuit. Over 40 Telly Awards. I mean, come on. This woman is extraordinary. And I feel blessed to also know her personally. And besides the amazing credentials, she's also just the absolute heart-centered, epic, amazing human being. I am so stoked for all of you to go on a transformational ride with Marie Bonmaison. The stage is yours.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming for my graduation speech. I am thrilled to introduce you the new product my company is doing. It's called SOAL. What is the essence of someone's soul? Is their character, is it their character, their guidepost, their northern light? What my company is bringing to you is the chance to take that soul and transform it into a story of a lifetime. So let me take you back into the year 2004, okay? I had just finished working with my husband on this job. We had an amazing camera. We were just so excited about it. And it was Mother's Day, and I told him, hey, why don't we interview my dad and my mom? And the backyard looked amazing. I mean, you're seeing blue skies and flowers and everything. So I thought, yeah, my dad would be a great person. There he is, a great person to start because he was such a rascal. I mean, he lived in this enormous house and they had parties every month. So imagine, okay, the adults are on the first floor, there's the dancing room, and then on the second floor, the children are viewing. So my dad was having his bowl of ice cream, you know, checking out his uncle that was flirting with this gorgeous girl all night. All of a sudden, my dad is very much looking into how this thing is happening, and he realizes that the scoop of ice cream is falling olympically down on the cleavage of the girl, and she's dancing and everything, and it's like, we were laughing our head off, and it just was that story and other ones stayed with me, you know. It was so great. And then the next month, my whole family is in Peru again, but this time we are at a wedding of my friend. And the vows haven't even started, and I get a cell phone call. And they say, you know what? Your dad has had a massive brain hemorrhage and you have to come. We have rushed him to the emergency room. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So everything from then on is like slow motion. I'm back in the States. The glass doors of the emergency open. The smell, the room, it was kind of eerie. I saw my dad in a vegetable state. I didn't realize the precious moments, those moments that I had kept. And probably you're thinking, something unexpected happened to you in your life. Who is that person? Whose story is that one that you're thinking about?
We're going to pause it right here before we're going to watch the end of this amazing story. But I first want to hear some reactions of the lens that you were focusing on. What did you notice? What was Mari doing in this specific speaking engagement, in this specific story? Rob, what did you notice?
That she was looking down a lot or closing her eyes. That's kind of what caught me was she was really in the story. She was really focused on her story.
So is it right that I'm getting it in a way where you feel that she was living it now instead of describing it like a picture far, far abroad. So instead of reading this story in a history book, she was kind of reliving it and sharing the experience with all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, is that something that we all want to do? Or is that something we want to prevent from happening? Rob, what do you think?
I think it's definitely something we want to do. I think when we're reliving it and sharing that experience as we're reliving it, we're more vulnerable and we're more emotional, which will then attach the audience or bring them closer to what we're trying to convey.
Yes. So good, right? And when we look at audience engagement with Mari, you put in the chat you want to focus on emotional engagement. What you did phenomenally well is exactly what Rob is just describing here, right? You were picking one story. You were not sharing about the life story of your dad. It was a humorous story about ice cream falling in his super big house on the cleavage of a woman, which, by the way, does that story on itself says something about Mari and her humor as well. Right? Do we feel something when she shared that in her way, where she was actually reliving that fun moment? And she said, and then I got a phone call. Hey, your dad had a massive stroke. That's a dialogue. Instead of Mari saying, and then I got a phone call of someone who shared that my dad had a stroke. It's the same information shared in a different way. One being descriptive, one being in dialogue. So Mari, you did it phenomenally well. Rebecca, what did you notice?
I was really in her story and feeling the sadness of what she was experiencing in the hospital room. And then she pivoted really quickly to say, how has that happened to you? And so it like invited us into the story, as Jay said, like it brought me to a different perspective, which I'd like to do in my story. I thought that was really well done.
Nice. So instead of talking about her and her story, she invited you all in. Right? Blake.
I thought the use of showing her father
Mm.
really captured me, and that made a human element to the story even more vivid and brought me directly into it where I was experiencing it with her as she was telling the story.
That is so beautiful. So the visual aspect, which by the way is also part of Mari's identity, right? She is a filmmaker. For her, and we talked a lot about this, right, Mari? It was almost like it almost felt like necessary to be really you. And what I would say about slides, because I get this question all the time, should I use slides? Should I not use slides? What I would say is always practice it without and always assume you won't use them. Always. You don't want to rely on slides. You don't want to put words or text on them. You as a speaker are the leader of attention. When someone is able to read and it's not clear what we need to do, but the slide is in our vision and we start reading, what are we not doing in that same moment? Look at Jay. We're not listening. But when you're kind of nervous and you still keep talking, now we as audience need to choose. And when we're choosing, we're spending calories and attention on the thought of what do we need to focus on. So we're not even reading, we're not even listening, we're confused. And when you're confused, you what? You lose the attention. And as speakers, you're the leaders of attention. So always use no slides unless you dialed in your talk and you think, in this little nuance, in this little detail, it could be an added value. And that's what Mari did. And then in a specific part, she added that slide. And now, Blake, you felt like, oh, this was totally smooth. Who felt that too? The added audio or the added video was an added value instead of a distraction. Who felt that? Right? And that's what you want to see. This is an added value. Now, I'm going to ask you, Mari, a fun question that I hope is giving you all a little bit of grace and relaxation. Mari, what was the moment that you decided I'm going to use this specific story? Do you remember that moment? Because I do.
I can't remember when it was, but of that interview, the only one I had with my dad, that just pops up because he was hilarious and he was he was just a rascal, you know?
Yes.
So that made me I don't know, was it another time? Lori, am I missing something?
So the fun part of all of this, Mari, is and this is I think with a lot of you, so incredibly creative. So many ideas, so many thoughts of what your aim can be. And they are all possible, right? So now which one are you going to choose? Which one is going to be the one that now has the pressure to be the best? But Mari, what I remember is you had your one-on-one call. Instead of thinking I need to have everything in place, I'm just going to go on that call and I'm going to trust. And you said, Lori, I have so many ideas. These are the ones. And then you started sharing that story and it made me so laugh. I'm like, Mari, I think this is the one. Are you okay if we pick this one and we're going to think how that could be part of the whole experience? And we just went for it. And then for 1.5 weeks, you practiced it and this is what came out. And then you remember how you felt right after? Would you mind sharing that with everybody as well? Because I think that's so beneficial.
Okay. I haven't seen myself, okay? So this is first time, but I was relieved, honestly. But one thing I have to say, I had all these questions that I wanted to say to the audience to engage them, and I was kicking myself because that is really a great thing, is to engage your audience, keep on asking them to bring them into your story. And I could have done more of those. The other, so if that's answering your question, that's how I feel. And I shouldn't have stand up. That's the other thing. Shouldn't have stand up because the camera is, if you guys are aiming your camera when you're trying to do your speech, try not to move. I did that mistake. I'm so hyper, you know?
Yeah. It's so fun that some people see something and someone else feels something completely different, right? Right when you got off camera, you were kind of disappointed in yourself. While at the same time, you did so incredible good job. So what I all want you to see is that whole entire process. Coming up with stories from your story library, which we did last week. This skill will keep pouring. You're watching the videos. Maybe you're watching another round of videos from the whole course and you start all over at the beginning and you start to really lean into it and you start to recognize, oh, me visiting my son, that's a story. That day it probably has 5 different stories and you start to recognize those. You start to journal about them. Some you forget, but then on your one-on-one, sometimes when you're most confused because you feel like you chose and you're not sure if you chose right, and you just start sharing, I'm like, okay, wait, I see your eyes light up when you tell this one. What about this? And what I always get is like, was that a story? Yeah, that was a story. So let's use it. And that's the flexibility that we're all leaning into. So sometimes when you see something on stage, you don't know what that process has been before, but now I want to reveal the process so you can start leaning into your process, do it your way with your stories. All right. Now, Mari, you share, I could have asked more questions. Now, all of us, because, and I love, Rebecca, that you're also inspired to do this because it's a beautiful way to not talk to people, but talk with people. Let's go some rounds. Maybe we have multiple ideas per person. I want it verbally, not in the chat. I want you to speak. What are some questions that Mari could have asked as well in that moment? What is a bridge that she could have made as well? Who has an idea? Carolyn.
I see two opportunities right now. One is, have you ever had that happen to you, like ice cream going down in some party, some weird, wild, cracky, wacky thing happened? That's funny. The other thing is, when she went to the hospital, have you ever experienced that with your family and know what it feels like and what you're going through?
Beautiful. Beautiful. What else? Katharina, were you noticing an opportunity?
I was actually thinking and on looking at from the picture of the dad, right? That perhaps around that time, that particular moment, the opportunity to ask a question, do you have something related to, like, what memories does it trigger of family or connection?
Yeah, that's so good. When I was with my dad, like the story that made me sparkle most was this ice cream story. Now, maybe you don't have an ice cream story in your family, but what's the memory that pops up for you with the person you love most? Jay.
So I'm going to combine my answer because I had feedback. So what I thought she did well was she set up this contrast. She had this wonderful, funny story of a connection engagement with her dad, and that just made the second part that much more devastating because she set up the contrast. And so then a question that could come is, have you ever, felt the rug pulled out from you? Or have you ever felt the foundations that you were standing on just crumble in a moment unexpectedly?
That's so good. That is so good. Beautiful. And I love that you're noticing the contrast. That's a word we love to marry. That's a word we love to put on our forehead. And that's a word that we love to embrace on this whole journey. The more contrast you're able to create, the more of an pull you're going to get from people. Beautiful. Irmak, what do you think? What question could we use as well?
Um, well, so a question, I mean, to her or can you repeat your question to me, Laurie?
Yeah, and let's all help each other, right? So if you have an idea, put it in the chat. And Irmak, the question would be like, what question could Mari have asked based on the story that she was sharing? Like, what is a question that she could have asked as well to engage the audience?
Oh, okay. Something like maybe, do you remember a moment that you had with your father or something like that that connected to a memory that we had like her? So that could be maybe asked.
I think it's a really good idea. And what could be, Irmak, the benefit of asking a question like that?
Because if we think about associating what we had from our life, it will kind of make so much more impact when she is bringing to that resolution. Probably we will have a similar memory, and then now she's moving to her lessons, so we take it more seriously because we will connect on top of the moment we found.
Yes, so good. So good. When you are nervous to share your story and you're figuring out, oh, will people really care about my story? Is the, let's say, cleavage story, the ice cream story, the right one? Right? And you might have thoughts like that as well. You're filling in your story library and now you have maybe 20, maybe you have 1.5. It's like, which one should I pick? And now there's so much pressure on that one story. But once we start to see, oh, wait, it's not about me and my perfect story. It's about the transformation for someone else. And as a speaker, we're the leaders of attention. Now, what happens when we're asking a question like that? People are thinking of their own answer. It's not about us and our story. It's about what our story sets up to then for other people to think of themselves. And we already noticed that when Blake was sharing his story, his little story in the beginning about you visiting your son, that Adrian connected because her parents are visiting. Now, I have the idea that Adrian and your son, Blake, are a little different in age, and that you're also from a different perspective. So you're from a perspective of a parent, and Adrian, you're from the perspective of a kid. So when we look at it black and white, it's almost like, Adrian, you cannot feel that because that was not what the story was about. You didn't listen well. But you know what's the fun about the freedom of storytelling is that everybody has the own freedom of feeling whatever they feel, seeing whatever they see, and have the breakthrough that they need in that moment. So when Mari is sharing that story and then has a very powerful question, and maybe Mari, in your next round, the only thing you're going to focus on, okay, what is the one or what are the two questions that I'm going to ask? Because there's really, really, like, let's say average storytellers, but really, really, really great in asking a question. They create a absolute amazing transformational journey for other people. Whereas there's great storytellers that don't ask powerful questions, where people feel very, very inspired but not touched. So it's really beautiful that we're all practicing with asking powerful questions and focusing on how can you engage the audience. Adrian.
So I was just curious, like if she had asked a question such as like, could you imagine how I felt? Like, do you want to phrase the question like that to have them think about how she felt, how Mari felt, or you want to phrase it so that they're thinking about themselves, or it doesn't matter?
What do you think?
I mean, if I was listening to Mari's story and she said, "Could you imagine how I felt?" I mean, I was so in the story with her. Like that's kind of what I was thinking anyway. So like I think if she had asked that, I would have thought like, "Oh my God, like she clearly loves her father and this is horrible." So like for me it still would have really captured my attention.
Yeah, fair enough. What I would come back to, and this is why we started with that in the first place. What's the aim that she wants to achieve? Right? And what is she sharing, and is it contributing to that aim, or is it just really cool to share?
Mm.
So what I would say is it's probably really cool to share, like, how do you think I was feeling? And like, yeah, it's probably horrible. But now I'm not part of the story. The aim is to have an audience transformation. So everything that you're sharing is not for other people to understand the story in detail. It's for them to live through the story and feel whatever they need to feel to come on the other side of what your aim is. So what I would say is, in this case, Mari's product is SOAL, the story of a lifetime, which is creating a documentary of an individual in your family or a friend or in your surrounding, someone that you really appreciate, and create a documentary of that person so that when they pass, you still have a documentary of a lifetime. Not forgetting those memorable moments, such as the ice cream falling down. So, what I would say, knowing the aim, I would think of what are the thoughts that people need to have? What are the teaching points that people need to go through in order to get on the other side? Number one has to be you have to know who you want to have a story of a lifetime of. And in Mari's story, it's her dad. So a question that I would ask is, and in that moment I realized, if I would have recorded it for my dad in that moment, I didn't have to talk to like the vegetable version. So who is this person? But I was too late. But that's why I'm on this mission. Who in your life is still alive today and would you love to have a documentary of? Who is this one person that if you would have that call, like right now, people we don't know what timeline we're on, if you would get a phone right now, who would you most devastated by? Or like who is that for you? Put it in the chat. Oh my God, your parents, they're still alive. You're so blessed. And then you're playing with the audience. Okay, so when I continue this story, think about that one person. And now she's continuing the story. So instead of thinking, I need to tell my story, I need to first pick the perfect story, I need to tell the whole story, it's like, okay, what is my playground? Which elements do I want to describe so people at least have the idea of who I am, right? We want to know that Mari is an epic filmmaker because she's not just creating some fun footage and she's using Canva. No, this woman won 8 Emmy Awards. Like she pretty knows what she's doing. But she's also telling, I come from Peru. And I now work with all these American things. Like she has some sort of story there. We start to understand, oh, this is like she grew up in the Amazon rainforest. It's like, oh my God. Like now we understand a little bit more about her personality. Now she's sharing the story of the ice cream with her dad. She's sharing how important her dad was, but she's also sharing a little bit about her personality and how she tells the story and what specific story she picked. She shows her energetic liveliness, right? So now we're getting a real good picture of who she is as a person. Now bringing on the journey, she's creating urgency of creating that video. She's letting you think about who it is that you want to do it with. So she's really ticking off a lot of boxes. Does it make sense, Adrian?
Super clear. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Who has a super clear insight for yourself as well by watching Mari's talk? With a raise of hands, show it to her. Because she was disappointed after this one. And look, Mari, so many people are learning. This is the power of sharing, you guys, because it all gets better when you go through it. There's always 3 presentations you do. The one you're preparing, which you're all doing now. The one you do, some of you in 2 weeks, some of you in 6 weeks. And then the one you wished you did. And I'm going to tell you with 100% certainty, they'll all be different. And that's always going to be like that. But because you do it, because you have good new feedback, you have another round and start with number 1. Irmak.
Is this question could be placed more towards towards the beginning? Or
Ooh,
placing, does it matter?
I love that question. Really good one, Irmak. That says a lot about your consciousness about this process already. Well done. What I would say, Irmak, I would agree with you. I would have liked this question in this specific talk, probably because, let me see the time. You were 6 minutes in of an 8-minute talk. I would have liked to have this question in minute 2 or 3. What we're doing, and I think I said this last time, but I wanna iterate. Imagine this is your time. 8 minutes. When we're talking audience engagement, asking a question is one way of doing it. Make sense? What are you all doing right now, by the way? You're all nodding your face. Why? Because I asked, does it make sense? Does it make sense? Is a question. A question where you're answering whether you show it or not. Because the brain doesn't like when something is incomplete. So I often do that. I say right with a question mark. I do a lot of different ways. So we don't always have to just ask questions. When you want more of that, it's in step number 4 of the framework. So you can watch those videos as well. But when this is the 100% of the timeline, and let's say you normally would just tell the story, and people start to think of their bananas that they're going to buy in minute 2, you lose them for the next 6 minutes. Does it make sense? This time, you're going to ask a question in minute 6. Meaning, when you do that, people are present with you again here. So when they're thinking of their bananas that they need to buy in minute 2, they come back in minute 6. So the last 2 minutes they also have. So now you have 4 minutes of presence instead of 2. But let's just say that every single minute you have something that brings the audience back. You never miss them more than a minute. So now you have 7 minutes of presence. So this is really the next level of awareness, because headspace to think about those minor details can only be allocated when you have the foundation and the stories in place. So I also want to give you all of a little bit of grace, because the headspace, it's not even the understanding, because you can cognitively understand the theory, but the bandwidth and the capacity to also include that, it needs to be the next level. But Irmak, that was a beautiful observation, and I would say minute 2 or 3 is where I would have placed it. Any other questions before we're gonna watch the second part? Carolyn.
Going along with that same thread, could you start it, your whole presentation with a question?
Yes, absolutely. You can totally do that. When we look at the hook, when we look at the start, there's 3 lenses we want to look through. I will quickly go through them. They're also in the course with some examples. Does this grab the attention right away? Now, asking a question could immediately engage people because they know, oh, this is about me. Some high, like big events start with, who wants to have an impact? Who wants to earn money? Who wants to have both? Oh my God, if that's you, you're in the right place. So we have recognition. It can also be a little bit more specific. So for example, for you, Carolyn, who here sometimes feels old? Who's excited to feel young forever? All right. Is it okay? Is it okay? You're asking for permission. Is it okay if in the next 8 minutes, I'm going to show you how that could be possible for you as well, even though you might not believe it right now? What you're doing when we look at the now and the new, you start where they are. Because Carolyn, you know that it's possible. Look at this woman. You guys, I keep reiterating your age, Carolyn. She's like, Slory, stop doing it. But I think it's the biggest compliment ever. She is 78, you guys. I mean, look at her. Come on. I know. So you know it's possible. But when you start to convince other people, it comes from this pushy energy. When you're pulling people in, you can do that with your communication. You can say, would it be okay if I can show you how that might be possible for you as well? Well, for that, I'm open. So now I'm leaning in. So yes, you can use questions in the beginning. At the same time, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. There's other ways. There's other ways of opening that are also really powerful. And for you to figure out what your hook is, watch the videos of the hook, but also go through the different examples that are in the course for you in the 3rd tab that I was just showing you, and just click on all the videos and see how are they doing the first 2 minutes. And some people you will be like, I don't like it. I don't like it. Ooh, this is great. And when you feel like, ooh, this is great, just look what they're doing. And maybe you have 3 videos where you're like, wow, this is epic. And they have all of a different approach. And you start to see, oh, what if I combine all 3? And now it's your juice. Because the first lens was, does it grab the audience immediately? It's very important. But the other 2 are just as important. Number 2, does it connect with the transformation that you're making? Right? Is it in through line of what you're telling? But step number 3, so important. Does it feel like you? Does this feel authentically you? And when you're excited about what you're doing, you're going to bring that energy. There's not one framework that just works best for everybody all the time, everywhere. It's like, no, it needs to be personalized to you. Any other questions? No? All right, we keep watching. Number 2. Part number 2. There we go.
Is that whose story is that one that you're thinking about? But as a filmmaker, and I've captured countless of stories, Nothing prepared me for this. What was the most impactful thing that I can think in my interview with Dad was, I asked him, Dad, what was the most important thing that happened to you in your life that changed you and my mom? And he said, you know, it was when the missionaries invited me to go to the Amazon rainforest and cure our indigenous children who had all these cases in orthopedics. And my father was an orthopedic surgeon, so he would fly in, operate, and come back. And I'll never forget, he said this. He said, I have been bitten by an angelical bug that has no cure. I will have that quote, I know, in my life. And I know that I did ask my dad what was the most important thing that happened in his life. And I can share that with my kid, but also how it changed the future generations. Let us help you to tell your story of your family. Let us make a story for you that is probably from not the ordinary, but to the extraordinary. Let's get another Emmy. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was amazing, Mari. And doesn't she just woohoo? All right, I want some feedback again. Jay, what did you notice?
Well, hopefully this is not selfish, but I just connected. Being a missionary, having done mission work, to have the missionaries and take them to the jungle, and then having that transformation of God working in and through him, and then having been bit by that angelic bug. And it just inspired me because I've been on sabbatical the last 12 years, and I just went to Uganda, so I'm just kind of getting back into it. But it was just inspiring for me to to just launch myself back in, and because it is kind of incurable, and for the last 12 years. Anyway. So anyway, but personally, it just connected with me and just inspired me in my own life. So I don't know that I noticed anything, but I just experienced something.
Okay, that's so fascinating. You were connecting on a story that Mari was sharing very descriptively. So you were able to see, oh, that's for me as well. Do we start to see the pattern of all of this, you guys? Was it necessary for Mari to share that detail about her life in order for her to get the transformation across? Absolutely not. It was not necessary. But when we look at the 3 C's, did she choose that specific story strategically? Because now it gives people a real good scope of who she is as a person. Now, Jay, imagine there would be 2 companies that you're able to work with, and you really want to have this documentary of a lifetime. Would you choose one that's as good as Mari, which obviously is not possible, but just let's imagine? Maybe even better, which is ridiculous to even think about, but just let's imagine this for a moment. Or Mari, that you know now these details of. Who would you want to work with and why?
No, I'm going with Mari. And
Why?
also the way that then she caps it off, because with that invitation at the end and the excitement that she had, let's make more documentaries. It created, so she created that connection, right, to my own life. And then she created that excitement or energy. And then she, offered that invitation that says, let's make some more documentaries. So it was just, beautifully woven.
I love that. And when we look from a meta level, what I'm hearing, Jay, is she shared, let's win more Emmys, right? She was sharing where she wanted to go to. She was sharing her vision. People buy from people who are just like them or they aspire to be more of. When you share what you would aspire to be more of, and people find themselves in that energy, in the trajectory, that's contagious, that's attractive, that's magnetic. What I'm also hearing you say, and this is going to be so fun for all of you, right? Irmak, helping women with hormonal balances. Rob, inspiring people to live the life of their dreams. Could it be possible that there's other people out there doing the exact same things right now? So why are people going to work with you? Is it because you have 4 teaching points instead of 3? Probably not, right? Is it because your landing page is blue instead of red? Because you beta tested it and you went into the analytics of what colors mean and that you create this certain emotional connection through a color and that you thought about, no, it should not be Arial, it should be Roboto font because it just gives more aesthetic and it just is more congruent with how I feel. All the stuff that sometimes part of our brain wants to focus on because it gives us comfort. But what if it could be possible that Jay, you want to work with Mari, and I'm going to tell you, Mari is double the price as the other person. But you're going to still go for her. Why? Why? Because we buy from people we know, like, and trust. Why? Because we buy an emotion. We did this last week. Who here wants confidence to speak? What you're here for is next level confidence. When you know you have that next level confidence, you will conquer every single piece and every single puzzle of your business. But if I say, let's do an 8-week confidence moment, you're like, whoa, that's exactly what I need. And that's so not worth the money right now. People buy the emotion, but you need to justify it logically. So if I say you get the confidence, but you also stand on stage and you know how to use storytelling and create a framework and do it for everybody everywhere and get all of that, you're like, oh, but that's logically how I can explain to myself that that is what I need and I'm also getting that. That now it's a good investment. So the reason why we have 3 C's is because we need to check off all those boxes. When Mari would not have shared the missionary part, Jay would not have become a client. But now she does, he's willing to pay double. It's like, what? And I put that in your mouth now, Jay, but it's just for the example. The perceived value of who you are and what you offer increases by just the way you communicate about it. So really think about what your elements of your 3 C's are going to be and what elements of stories you're going to include. And this is really what I want all of you to feel, is Mari came up with this story 1 week before she was sharing it. She was not judging herself for it. She was not saying to me, Lori, I screwed up. She said, Lori, I have a lot of ideas. Let's figure out what we're going to do together. That's why I'm here. That's why Luke is here. We're helping you make those decisions. You don't need to do it all alone. But it was needed that you went through the whole journey in order for you to get those ideas, to understand the language, to understand the value of it, and then being able to use it. Because you all are Homo sapiens, we all are, and we survived through storytelling. We're all storytellers. Sometimes it's just little pieces and nuances and knowledge we're missing, but the skill we all have. Later today, I'm going to share a post because some people think I was as natural. It's like, oh my God, you could be so far from the truth. This is really a skill you can learn. Mari,
Yes.
you had your hand up.
No. Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So it's not on purpose, but imagine you would have something to share. What would it be?
Oh, okay. What was I going to say? I think one of I always remember about Martin Luther King's repeating, I have a dream. because everybody has a dream, you know, and it's like off when he starts that you're just already going there, you know, but his constant repetition brings you back to the aim.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. Can I go? And yes, I was really nervous, honestly. I gotta say, I was very nervous. And could I finish also inviting them, like saying, hey, I will give you a free consultation? You know, can I do something to engage them, to invite them to do something that they want to do?
100%.
You
And
know,
we'll not dive into that completely because I really want you to focus on the content that you're going to share. But the way you're able to grow your audience to really monetize what you're doing through speaking is a very strategic process. And what I would say is really think through what is logical for the audience, for the host, and for yourself. It's the triangle you want to think of. Sometimes you want to do a free consultation. Sometimes you want to do a free ebook or something. Sometimes you just want to say DM me the word soul on Instagram. Depending on what platform, what audience, what moment is going to determine what strategy works best. But yes, 100%. Katharina.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that, Mary, you had the three C's when I was listening to your presentation, right? The coolness, you definitely were very cool. Credibility and the sense of community. And I tell you, I connected. Well, the first word when I heard from Lori during the just a biography, right? Telling about you that you are from Peru. I'm Peruvian. Yeah, so I'm Asian, Peruvian, both my family, yeah, were Chinese, Japanese. And then when you mentioned the missionaries, that also got me to connect. My father was born in the mountains, and there was a missionary that went to that small town. And my dad got inspired from looking, it was a great role model. So from there, he, learned and he pursued school and left the mountains and then traveled to the capital. And then from there, had a family. We came to the States. I came just right after high school, and actually I ended up living here for the last, 35, 40 years. So it really helped me to connect, right? And me thinking about the memories with my dad. So as Lori mentions, would you pay double? Yes, I would pay double because it's about the connection, right? You're a credible source, you have all the expertise, your experience. So it got me to think, oh, this is something that I need to do for my family, how to sustain, how to build those memories and pass them on to the next generation. So no, you really transform me. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Do you start to see what pictures created that response? Peru? Missionary? Right? Those were two words where Jay and Katharina really resonated on. And maybe, like Jay and Katharina and everybody else who felt that, were you aware that you wanted to have a story of a lifetime? Probably not. But Mari, you created that awareness, and that's what we all need to do. When we're talking about the now and the new, you can be so excited about your documentary, and I will be excited for you. But I won't recognize that that is what I want because you didn't create the awareness first. And Rob, I pick you sometimes as an example because I think what you're doing is so cool, just as anyone else, but it can also be so hard for people to notice that that is what they need. It's like, go next level with my life. It's like, what does that mean? Like, I don't even, like, that's just for other people. Right? Who was there at some point where you saw other people thriving and you thought, that's just not even possible for me? So we need to establish that foundation first where they will feel seen. They will understand, oh, you're talking to me? Oh, oh, you are talking to me. So now I'm open to listen to the opportunity. And that opportunity I don't even need to be excited about. I just want to consider the possibility that it could be for me and that I'm at least open for what's next. I don't need this whole life yet. I want what's next. And that is the elegance of speaking. And that's what we're all doing. Now, Katharina, the level of safety that Mari was providing in 8 minutes, and from those 8 minutes, that was 2 minutes of introduction. Imagine it would be a 0 with someone who you just met online randomly. What was the level of safety Mari was providing on a scale of 0 to 10 for you?
I would definitely, from a 6 to an 8. It built so much the credibility. Came from a point of vulnerability, right? So I felt like it was authentic and I connected right there.
There you go. 6 minutes, you guys. 6 minutes. Rebecca.
I'm not quite sure how to ask this. So I really connected, and I understand that people are connecting with the different pieces in her story. My question, I guess I'm a more logical buyer, and I really want to hear how she's done a documentary in the past that has impacted, like how it impacted that person or impacted that family. Is that also a direction that that we could go, or what do you think about that? Like an example of a success?
100%. So what I would say, let's look at it like this. The first step is an aim of the talk. We want to have the transformation clear. In Mari's case, the story of a lifetime. Then we want to have certain stories. We have 3 buckets to get stories from: credibility, coolness, and community. When we look at the credibility piece for Mari in this way is mostly the introduction. Right? In the story itself, there's almost nothing. So when I look through the lens of like what can go even better, and I love Irmak what you were noticing about the question, I would have put it earlier. And afterwards I put in more different ways of engagement styles. At the transition from opportunity, like this is what I went through with my dad, like the second piece was very fast to, now this is the invitation to create your story of a lifetime. What I would love to hear as well, and this is what you're noticing, Rebecca, is I would love to notice, like, what does it entail? I would love to hear, in order for you to create the story of a lifetime, there's 3 different steps. Step number 1 is this. Step number 2 is this. Step number 3 is this. And then every single step, Mari can share a story about what she did for someone. Because what she doesn't tell us right now is she had an interview with Hillary Clinton. So now she can use that story, a credibility story, to make the point of you need to know who the person is. For example, when I was interviewing Hillary Clinton, what she shared with me is she was really missing her mom. Blah. So for Hillary, it would be her mom. What would it be for you? Number 2, you have to find the perfect spots to record this. When I was interviewing the son of Nelson Mandela, which she, by the way, did as well, it was South Africa. Because can we all agree that when we think about Nelson Mandela, we think about South Africa? So the second part is you want to pick the right spot for you. What would it be for you? And then number 3, it's not just the person you want to interview, but it's also 2 people that are related to that. I'm just making this up right now. While I was and now I would do something that Mari is learning. So we had now like Nelson Mandela and Hillary Clinton. It's like now we know what she's good at, and now I want a little bit more personal. So maybe I would go back to the storyline of my dad. What was really important with my dad was actually my brother and my mom, and how we did that in that moment was exactly like this. So for you, blah 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 blah. So that way you're not saying, oh, by the way, I'm super credible, but you're looking at what other scenes of my life can I include, what stories, so people know I'm credible. Does it answer your question, Rebecca? Do you?
It does, and that was very helpful in in what I'm trying to do. So thank you.
Beautiful. And I hope that you're all seeing that it's different scenes of your life, right? Mari can literally do this by just saying, while I was interviewing Hillary Clinton, and that's the only couple of words that she's using to make the point, I know what I'm doing, right? Sometimes I say, as a TEDx speakers coach, I often get this question. So instead of saying, I'm going to answer a question that's probably in your mind, I just say, as a TEDx speakers coach, I often get this question in my DM. So
Can
now
I?
we're creating, yeah, Mari.
Sorry. I really appreciate your question, Rebecca, because as a filmmaker, if you say you got Emmys or whatever, what that implies is that the other filmmakers have considered you worthy of an award, you know? But what you have taught me right now is that that is a language not that everybody knows. I mean, sometimes people say, oh, you got a Grammy. And I'm like, I'm not a singer. I mean, people don't even know the difference sometimes.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to say is, okay, let's say, Rob, you're here in your coaching, but people are here. They don't know what you're doing, what you're giving.
Yeah.
And what you asked Rebecca is, for me, it was very obvious sometimes what I was saying, but Lori was explaining and saying, no, you should not assume that people know.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, so beautiful. And you can think for yourself, like what elements are you using? Rebecca, you are in a specific niche as well, right? Like how are we gonna understand any of it when we're not in the industry? Like who here knows Dean Graziosi? I know most of you, but everybody, okay. Some people have no idea. I'm like, do you know Tony? So sometimes I'm like, I'm working together with Dean Graziosi. It's like, who is that? Okay, do you know Tony Robbins? I've heard of him. It's like, okay, now it's gonna be really, really, really like a lot. Now the whole idea is gone, right? So now it's the same with Emmys. It's like Emmy, wasn't that like a chocolate brand? It's like, no, never mind. So you can still make the same point in a different way. So for example, in the Netherlands, sometimes I say I have collaborations with very big American entrepreneurs, and one of them flew me in for a gig for 10,000 people. It's the same story, but it's more vague, so they actually understand every single piece of it. So Mari could be like, I won one of the most important awards that we as filmmakers can make, and other winners were, and then maybe she can find like who won an Emmy that probably everybody knows. So the creator of like, can you come up with something like this in the spot on the spot, Mari? Like who won an Emmy that we probably all know?
Oh, I mean, so many people.
And you can think of it like maybe
Yeah.
a movie that was like everybody knows that movie. It's like this go-to movie that everybody knows, and that person won an Emmy. So now instead of saying I stay in my language and I want you to understand me, so now we're convincing again, we're pushing again. That's the energy we want to go away from. We want to say, oh, where are you with your awareness? I got you. Like I will tune in right where you are. I'm gonna let you feel seen where you are, and I'm gonna bring you to the place that I know that could be beneficial for you on an awareness space. And throughout, I'm gonna share some stories, create some pictures in your imagination, ask you some powerful questions for you to ponder on.
Okay, Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is a series that got many awards, you know?
Who knows Breaking
Breaking
Bad?
Bad is
Or at least heard of it, right? Like who here
got a
knows
lot of awards.
who here knows Breaking Bad? Amazing. Well, those guys won an Emmy and we won 8. So what I'm here to share is this. Right? Now, so now we're establishing what it means from a place where your audience comes from. And what I want for all of you is the freedom to pivot. So when Mari knows Breaking Bad, like these people in my audience would have not a clue. So now she's going to pick a different movie. But now she's, you know, like, so now she can be flexible. She understands what she's doing and why she's doing it. Do you all see that you really are free to do whatever you want? And that when you want to change your aim, you could. When you want to change your stories, you could literally do that a week before. At the same time, and this is why I don't say that all the time, don't change your aim all the time, because some of you might think, oh my God, I have my one-on-one book with Lori, and now I have Linda has it tomorrow. Right now I have to create a video, and I created 20 different versions of the video. I'm spawning creating the video because it's not how I want it, and Lori, this is my one shot. Right? And what I want all of you to see is that that is utter bullshit. And when we have that video, we have a frame of reference. So it doesn't need to be perfect. You're just going to share your ideas and we're going to create something together. And that's going to be your next best version. So what I would love for all of you to do is fill in the steps of the blueprint where you are at and go to the next level where you want to lean into right now. Something that I would love to invite all of you to do is keep writing down those stories. Because do we all see that that is the magic of everything? Is the specific pictures. Mari, great documentary maker. Great Mari documentary maker from Peru. And from missionary background, that creates a whole different effect. She will draw in the people that resonate with that. Imagine if she would also add the Mandela and the Clinton story. So our rational buyers are also kind of satisfied. So she knows what she's doing. But I know that they will also connect with the missionary in your case, Rebecca. So your emotional part was satisfied, but your logical part was not yet. So now we have to play the game again. Okay, which one of the 3 C's doesn't have enough attention so that people are moving forward because they need this. Who knows for a fact that when you have a story of a lifetime, it's freaking epic for everybody. Right? So it's on you as a speaker, the leader of attention, to communicate it in a way where people understand that value. And that's the game we're playing here. How can you create an emotional connection with your audience and really let them know, hey, I'm here for you. I know that I know this already, but I don't want to convince you. I want to show this to you. I want to expose this to you. I want you to see that this is what you need. I want you to feel seen, trust me, because you can. And instead of saying it a lot of times, I'm going to show you. I'm going to let you experience. Before we close off, Rebecca, do you have a question?
Yeah, and I guess it made me realize that relatable is probably important too, because saying Nelson Mandela and Hillary Clinton gave immediate credibility and trust, and it also goes, oh, well, interviewing my mom isn't the same as interviewing, so it's probably too good for me. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I think there's a
Yes.
relatable piece too that you don't want to overshoot depending on your audience, or that's just kind of what I was thinking in my head.
100%. And that's the contrast that was Jay was sharing in the beginning, and the aim again. Is like, is this truly adding to the aim, or is this fun to share? Is this coming from a place of ego? Is this coming from a place of this actually gonna help? So when we do that whole thing, we're gonna feel that out. And we're like, okay, we have 3 examples. 1, Nelson Mandela or Hillary Clinton. 1, someone else than a dad, for example, the neighbor of someone. So it's like the total contrast, and then your own dad. So we have a story from a credible source, story from someone else, story from myself. So now we have a nice triangle going on. And that's the balance, and that's the puzzle. And that is also something, and I really want to keep mentioning this. This is something that sometimes is not realistic for immediate integration, because you need the bandwidth also for storytelling on itself. So it's step by step, level by level, and keep going every single week. Who's excited to create a video and share it in our WhatsApp group right away? With 3 questions that you probably are not expecting. The first one, what was an aha moment or breakthrough for you this lesson? An aha moment of breakthrough. Number 2, what are you committed of doing? Not thinking, not pondering, but doing. Is it writing down 20 stories in my story library? Is it recording a video for the one-on-one I already booked and not overthinking it? Is it filling in the blueprint and writing down the now and the new? Whatever it is for you, what are you committed of doing? And then number 3, who in this group are you grateful for today? It was very nice and interactive. You never know what your question provokes for someone else. You never know what your share provokes for someone else. And it's the collective that really creates the breakthroughs. It's not me, it's us. So who are you grateful for today and why? So who's excited to create a video right now and share that in our WhatsApp group? Amazing. All right, you guys, you're going to get the replay in your portal right away. We'll either see each other next Monday, if you want to come from the momentum call, or next Tuesday, which is 1 week before the next live. I'm going to be right here, literally doing a speaking gig in an hour or so. So I'm already on location, and I will share some experience on the next Monday call. All right, you guys, have a good one. Ciao, ciao.